Our second reading this morning is from the Gospel of John. I'll pick up in the 8th chapter. This is a relatively well-known story, the story of the woman who is caught in adultery. What's fascinating about this story is that it's not in any of the ancient or most ancient copies of John's Gospel. But we know from seeing it in other spaces that it's a very well-known and accurate story of Jesus interacting with the Pharisees and the elders and this unnamed woman. And someone placed it into John's Gospel, and we have different reasons why, but one of the largest or most respected reasons is, as you may know, John talks about very lofty stuff. I am the true vine. I am the water of life. And oftentimes we think, well, what does that mean? It's sort of a theory-based class. It's a philosophical class, and I don't think many of us were signing up for those in graduate school or undergrad, were we? This one's a tangible story. In it, we learn what it means to be the church by following Jesus' actions. So let's read from chapter 8, the first 11 verses, as we learn how Jesus continuously tells us, let's be the church. Each of them went home. Well, then Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. Early in the morning he came again to the temple, and all the people came to him, and he sat down, and he began to teach them. The scribes and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in adultery, and making her stand before all of them, they said to Jesus, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the very act of committing adultery. Now, in the law, Moses commands us to stone such women. Now, what do you say?" They said this to test him, so that they might have a charge to bring against him. And Jesus bent down and wrote with his finger on the ground. When they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and he said to them, "Let anyone among you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." At once he bent down and he wrote on the ground. When the crowd, heard it, they went away one by one, beginning with the elders. And then Jesus was left alone with the woman standing before him. Jesus straightened up and he said to her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" She said, "No one, sir." Jesus said, "Neither do I condemn you. Go your way, and from now on, do not sin again." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Jesus is constantly teaching us how to be the church. And on this first Sunday of Advent, when we light the hope candle, we hope, if you're anything like me, that you never get caught not being the church, right? One way to be the church is to not get caught doing the bad things, right? Carrie talks about how we all sin. Yes, that is true, but sometimes you just want to be the church by not getting caught, right? We call that putting your best foot forward. I was trying desperately to do that this Thursday. All week long, the whole Kane family has been preparing for a Thursday afternoon gathering, and we needed to have our house look spotless, right? Because our house was going to display who we were, and we worked hard. The girls and I worked hard. Lydia worked even harder. And then Thursday morning, we were putting the girls into the car, and I thought, you always forget about that one spot, right? That one pesky spot. And I started to give thanks to God, because when we moved here, I thought to myself, the one thing that Lydia and I both wanted was storage, storage, storage. Not because we have a lot of stuff, no, but you need storage to put things away, right? To hide them, so to speak. Thursday morning, I just started throwing all the girls' toys and throwing my stuff, my projects that were outside. Thank goodness Lydia had picked the girls up and put them into their car seats, because I'm pretty sure I would have thrown them in there and thought, no one will go in here and look around, right? It's all hidden in there. What they don't know can't hurt them, right? I was afraid that someone was going to open up the storage units of my life. Now, I'll be honest with you, there's no dead bodies or anything really crazy in there. It's just the stuff of life. I don't want to be drugged in front of Jesus like this woman was. I don't want people looking at my lives and pulling it out and saying, Jesus, what should we do with this woman? What a timely story given the reality of our culture. As much as things change, they stay the same, don't they, right? This story feels modern. You change the names, you change the location, but it's happening in our culture. And so we think to ourselves, Jesus, how are we to be the church? Are we to buy better storage units and hide our stuff so you don't see it? And if we do, what do we do when we're exposed in front of you? And Jesus gives us this beautiful example of what it means to be the church. He does it in three ways. He does it with his posture, with his patience, and with his proclamation. Notice how the story started, and Carrie picked up on this wonderfully. Jesus was seated with the people. That's who God is. God is always with the lowly, with the people. He's never standing high above. It's always with the people. Jesus comes as a baby born in a manger, born to an unwed woman and Joseph. Jesus calls all of his disciples, and they're fishermen and tax collectors and sinners. He hangs out with the prostitutes and all the other people that we're not supposed to associate with. His posture is to be one among us. And he also says, come and teach. Sit with me, I'll teach you something. He also practices patience, and how many of us need patience? Notice that he does not respond immediately when the Pharisees and the elders say, make a decision now. No, he does something and he writes something in the ground. And what's important is not what he wrote, but that he took the time to diffuse the situation. He may have just been writing his name for all we know. Maybe he wrote a verse, or maybe he drew the line in the sand, which is how many of us remember it. But whatever he did is he did not throw flames upon larger flames. He cut the tension and took his time. And he was incredibly okay with an uncomfortable situation. This is a mob, remember? This is a gathering of people who want him to make a decision, and whatever he says, they're not going to like, and he takes his time. And he pauses. And then when he does speak, when he proclaims something, it is full of love. It is full of love and inclusion, saying, if you don't have any sin, then by all means, you can kill this woman. If you've done nothing wrong in your life, you go right ahead and do what Moses said you're supposed to do. But don't act like you're the better people. We are all one. And this is, again, who God is, and God always has been, calling all of us in love and inclusion. This is the saddest part about the text for me. And they walked away, one by one. They walked away. This is sad to me because they had the chance. They had the prime opportunity to be the church. Jesus had been saying, let's be the church for this woman. Let's be the church for this world. And they said, we don't want anything to do with it. And they walked away because they were upset with Jesus. How often do we want to walk away? I think about it all the time, right? It's hard to be the church. Jesus makes it look somewhat easy. Of course, we didn't see everything. We don't know the tension that was there, but it seems somewhat easy, but it's not. It's a challenge to be the church. I think about that every Sunday morning when I'm putting on this robe. I'm going to let you all in on a little insider secret. I have never met a minister who likes wearing a robe. I have never heard a minister who says, during the week, God, I wish I had my robe. It would go great with my shoes. I don't know who came up with the idea of an academic gown or a Catholic gown or the white albs. I don't know who came up with those ideas, but it was not somebody who was a fashion designer. And I think about this robe every week I put it on. It is the epitome of what it means to be the church. It is a blessing and it is an unbelievable challenge. My posture, I think about Jesus' posture in this, that he's with the people, and I think about the fact that I really and truly want to go to the worship committee and then to the session and talk about the fact that I actually preach the most amazing sermons when nobody's in this room. And so what I think should happen is I'll wear the robe and I'll preach these sermons and we'll get this beautiful drop-down screen and you will see them up there, right? You'll love them. If I make a mistake, we'll cut it out and we'll start it over, right? Right? No one's going for that, are they? But that's not what it means to be the church, right? To be human, to be a Christian means to show your humanity. It means to be really worried about standing up here while y'all are looking and thinking about this robe that some of you call a dress, right? It's to be worried about stumbling or saying the wrong thing or knocking the microphone or doing something wrong. But also knowing that you are right here with me. It is nerve-wracking, but it's our call as Christians to be together and amongst one another. I think about Jesus' patience, about his ability to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's hard to be comfortable in the church oftentimes, isn't it? When we walk into this space, we worry about what people are going to say. We worry about what they're going to look at. We worry about whether they're going to notice that we brought all that stuff with us all week long. We're worried that they're going to say something about something that we're in favor of and they're against, and so we just want to sneak in and sit down, worship, and go on with the day. Ministers have the same realities. And that's why I'm grateful for my predecessors at Howard Memorial Presbyterian Church. Because it used to be in that office where the pastor's office was, and then when they built that amazing building behind us, it's now in there too. There's this amazing sound system that y'all know nothing about. And only ministers can hear it. It's a frequency that we only get. And so when I'm putting on my robe, I hear it. And it's Pachelbel's canon. And it calms me down. And it gets me ready to be patient. And then interspersed in it is some AC/DC Back in Black to get me jazzed up, to know that there's going to be some joy, some excitement, but there's going to be a lot of uncomfortable, and I got to be ready, right? That's the patience of being uncomfortable in the church sometimes. And then there's the proclamation, and I think about this cross when I put it on. I think about we are proclaiming the greatest love ever. We are proclaiming that everybody is welcome. We are proclaiming that we are glad that you are here even if you don't agree with us. We are glad that you are here. If you have done everything wrong, you are still welcome at the table. You are still welcome at the font. You're even welcome in the choir loft and to sit down here. That's what we're called to proclaim. So I had this thought this week, and I'm going to run it by the finance committee. I'm going to add a budget item for 2018. I'm going to get you guys robes. Every last one of you. And I'm going to have some extra in the back for the visitors who come, because once people hear that we wear robes in here, they're going to be excited and they're going to be coming. Because I want you to feel what I feel. And that sounded great until I thought about the numbers, and I also thought about the reality that we're not called to be the church in here, are we? We're called to go out there and to be the church. We're called to take what we do here, take our posture, take Jesus' patience, and take his proclamation to the world. We're to sit with the people that no one else will sit with. We're to be patient in times of incredible uncomfortableness. and we're to love, not to condemn. When they brought that woman to Jesus, they wanted an answer. They really and truly wanted to stone her, is what they wanted. They wanted something, and Jesus gave them love, and they recoiled. They had opened up the storage unit of this woman's life, and they said, "Do something about it, Jesus." And Jesus said, "Let's sit and talk about it." That's our call. As we walk towards the manger during this season of Advent, we are called to be the church. So let's be the church, both here and out there. May God bless this witness, and may God bless this congregation. Amen.